Hello everybody. So in this video I just want to talk more about personal experiences, and so it's not very planned and I may be all over the place, and I'm just moving my window so that I can check the chat box to see if anybody talks, what you guys are saying. So welcome, Shabbat Shalom, and I'm going to be discussing following our Father's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, or our higher selves, or our inner being, or our soul or spirit that's in heaven and all that. And just hold on for a second. Dakota, you gotta get out of here. Come on. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go lie down. So, sorry about that. So, yes, I just needed to get the dog out of here. So, anyway, it doesn't matter what you call this spirit, but we know that this spirit is inside of us. And so that's what I want to discuss in this video. The way we know that this spirit is inside of us is because of our frequencies. How we feel, our emotions are kind of our gauge on how our frequencies are doing. So if you're feeling a negative emotion, such as fear, then you know that you can sense this other frequency in you, and you're not at the same place as that frequency. So if you want to think of it as your higher self or spirit that's currently seated in heavenly places, that's kind of how I picture it. Or you can just say the Holy Spirit that is living inside of you. That's another way to look at it. So the spirit that is inside of us is vibrating on a high frequency, the frequency of agape love. And you can see my video on the truth hidden or veiled underneath a curtain of love for more information on that. But we need to go through this curtain or veil or whatever in order to become one with God, basically. And when we are not, we're seeing through the glass darkly, as the Bible says. So we want to see things as God sees them. If you are feeling a negative emotion, such as hatred, wrath towards another person, that negative emotion is letting you know that you are not on the right frequency with God. Now, I've talked about this frequency idea before, but for anybody new, if you think of it as like a radio dial, and God is on one side and your fear or anger or whatever is on another side. And when we are at this frequency of not love, basically, anything that's apart from agape love and apart from boldness and all that stuff, everything that God is, if we're not a part of that, we're on this frequency and this is what we're picking up, and we're not hearing our Father because he's over here. And so we're seeing through a glass darkly because it's kind of like trying to listen to a radio station on the wrong channel. You know, if you want to hear 108 and you're on 97, you're not going to hear 108 very good. So if you are at a frequency of anger, wrath, or whatever, you're not going to hear our Father very well. That's where the glass darkly comes through. So we want to become one with him. We want to come over to where he is at, because he's not moving. We are the ones that are moving back and forth. He's on the highest frequency, if you want to go like that, and we are sometimes going like this. So we want to become one with him and not go into this lower frequency anymore. But here's the idea, is that when we are not one together, it's causing dissonance. Just as you would have cognitive dissonance if you hear two things and they don't really sound the same, if they're not vibing with each other, if there's no harmony, then you hear cognitive dissonance. And I mean, people have talked about this before with, you know, hearing two things. If somebody says Jesus didn't die for your sins because he forgave sins before he died, that causes cognitive dissonance in people who believe that Jesus had to die for their sins to be forgiven. So that's the dissonance, right? So if we're not on the same wavelength, there's dissonance. We pick up that dissonance as an emotion, a negative emotion. So if we are with him, one with him, we're going to be feeling joy, love, boldness, fearlessness, etc. We're going to be flying high. we're going to think we're on top of the world. Little g gods, however you want to say it. You know, Jesus said you guys are little g gods as long as you have the word in you. And that's what he taught us, that doctrine, so long as we do that. So we need to, yeah, Jenna was talking about cloud 9 and everything. We need to get up here. And we want to be up here all of the time, but sometimes we're not. Sometimes we hit something, we see something we don't like, and we dip down. If we can forgive people right away, we can go back up. You know, but if you hold on to your wrath, then you go down. So we want to try to become one with God up here. But the dissonance is when we aren't doing what he's doing. And we're feeling this as an emotion, a negative emotion. So positive emotions, we're right with him. Positive emotions, feeling love, caring for one another, you know, absolutely no negative emotions in your life. You're one with God. But if you go dip into a negative emotion, you're not one with him right now. So our negative emotions are teaching us that we are not seeing this situation, this event, or this person in the same way that God is seeing them. If we're feeling jealous because somebody has something and we feel like we can't have it, that's a negative emotion. It's saying that you think that you can't have what you want. But in reality, everything that you want is available to you. So if you think of it as your higher self up here, and you're down here because you're feeling like, I'm so jealous that that person has all the time in the world to go do this because they have so much money, then you're not seeing yourself as your higher self has all the money in the world because it has all the creation in the world. It has all the power to do whatever it wants to do. And because we are saying that we can't do that, we are resisting getting those good things into our life. So when we feel this feeling of jealousy, what you should do is say, this feeling of jealousy is a negative emotion. That means that my higher self or God doesn't think that I should be jealous of this because I can have whatever I want. So if they don't feel like I should be jealous, then I shouldn't be jealous because it means that I can get what I want. That my negative emotion that's saying that I can't get what I want is not true. So I know by feeling this negative emotion that means it's not true. So this belief is a false belief. I need to get rid of it. And then try to understand that you should let go of the jealousy because the idea that you can't get it is not true. And then you can become up here with one with God saying, it is true that I can have whatever I want. It's not true that I can't. So there goes jealousy. So we can use our negative emotions to teach us how God feels about something at this moment. If you feel like, wow, that person was really angry, they totally deserve to get bitch slapped, and I'm going to write back to them right now, keyboard warrior thing. Well, that negative feeling, that vengeance, that I got to go do something right now, I got to get back at them, I got to make them understand, and like this negative fighting, that's not the way God feels about it. He's calm, cool, collected, and he doesn't care when people come to the truth because he knows people are going to come to the truth in their own time. And so he doesn't worry. He's not upset that that person had a moment. He knows that you've had your moments too. And he forgave you for those moments, just as he forgives people for their moments. And so there's nothing to be angry about, etc., because he knows what's going on. And when you're feeling a negative emotion, it means that you don't know what's going on. You're not seeing things as God sees them. So I talked about this a little bit in a video where I talked about how, well, first, somebody said, vengeance is mine, says God, or says the Lord, etc. in the Bible, right? And I believe the golden rule means that if somebody does something wrong, immediately their life, according to law of attraction, will give them what they did wrong, etc., for them to be purified in order to come out of it. And so everything is being repaid immediately as we are doing it. And so I don't think it's an action apart. I don't think that God has to go out and say, I'm going to strike vengeance on this person right now. I think what happened is he created the world on the Torah, the word, the instructions, the doctrine, the golden rule, basically. If you do this, then you'll reap that. And so whenever somebody does something, it's already coming back at them. There's no need for him to do anything. It's just the way the world works. That's how he set it up. So that's why he says, don't worry about taking vengeance. It's already happening. People are already condemned right now. That's why Jesus says, I did not come to judge the world, but came to free the world, because they were already condemned. Those who don't believe in him are already condemned. It says that. So the punishment is already in the system. We don't have to worry about that. If you're even worried about people being punished, mostly we should actually just be worried about people coming to the truth and being healed and all that. So that's what we should be wishing for, praying for, etc. So our negative emotions teach us that God is not seeing things this way, that we are seeing it in this time period. If you're angry at somebody, he's not angry at them. So why are you angry with them? You need to come over with God and become that agape love and understanding. You're going to have mercy, etc. So you're not going to be on a discordant frequency than God is on that subject anymore. So a while back I did a video about if you feel bad, how to bounce back from bad to get to good, etc. And so that's because something happened in my life, and so I'm just going to, I guess, go on with it and explain it here. I've been struggling with money. I personally struggle with money. I mean, I'm very thankful to everybody who has ever donated to me. It means the world, like, even more than just the money. It's just nice to know that people are caring and that they're enjoying this information and they feel like they want to invest in me to create a better world, etc., for what I'm doing for helping people. So, but I used to believe when I was a child that I could do anything, but then I got overwhelmed and all that stuff. And then I did have jobs that I really loved, etc. But through life experiences, I got stuck in this behavior, this thought pattern of I can't make money doing what I love, or whatever negative thought patterns you can have, and that I don't know how to make money, etc. And I don't think, like, personally, when I think about being poor, that makes me feel bad. That's a negative emotion right there. Well, our higher selves have money. They have the ability to create anything they want to create. So I'm trying to get from not having money to having money. I don't want to have this, like, dissonance between my higher self and who I am right now. I know that it's possible to have a job I love, enjoy, and I can make plenty of money and actually have a life, right? So there's a way to do that. I know that it's possible. And I'm just trying to get up there. So something happened, and then I was getting less money, and it was kind of like, ugh, now what am I going to do? So how do I bounce back from this event, right? And that's when I came up with the bounce back from bad to good video. But basically in that video, I was saying that when you see something and you count it as bad, it's not bad. It's just that that's the way you're seeing it. And so what you want to do is ask, how is this good for me? What is the silver lining? What am I not seeing? Because if I'm feeling bad about this situation, it means that if I'm feeling bad, it means that God is not feeling bad about this situation. So how is this situation good for me? And if I can see it through God's eyes, I can get to be one with him and no longer think of this situation as a bad situation. So that's what I was doing. Now, trust me, I know what it's like to be fearful of not having enough money. I know what it's like to be fearful of people not liking you or hating you or calling you, got called the cunt word today. I know what it's like to, care about what other people think about you and all that stuff. And I know, but the thing is, God doesn't have those feelings towards us. And that's why it feels like a negative emotion. And so I'm just telling you guys, I practice what I preach. I know that it's hard. If you guys are listening, it can be hard. It doesn't have to be hard, but it can be hard. And I know I'm not just like saying, you guys should do this and then going off and having a wonderful life. I'm actually constantly going through this, and this is kind of like a vlog or whatever, going through my life and how I'm dealing with things. And so it's been a rough, I mean, if you think about that, it's been rough, It's not just easy peasy for me, and then I tell you guys what to do. And I've had people accuse me of like, well, you're saying that I can't sin, and so you're like holier than I am, and you're just talking blah blah blah, and it's not like you're doing this stuff and whatever, you're trying to preach to people. It's like you guys are bad and I'm good or something. I'm not doing that. I know that it's a difficult situation that we have to go through. So we are just learning as we go. And as I go, I just wanted to help people understand what it's like and what I found helpful for me. So, and Illusion is Over said, we all need Satan's tool to get by in the system, but think it's not part of God's plan for his followers to have lots of it. Yeah, I don't really think that money is even Satan's tool. Like, even just to name it that as like something negative is like bad, So we can't think of these things as bad. I talked about how the Bible actually says it's good to have money because that is the blessing that, Abraham got, and Joseph got blessed with tons of money and rulership, etc. That's because he did what was God's will, So we have to just continually follow this purification process. And when I say that you need to get rid of your sin, I'm just saying this is the purification process. And if you want to get out of this world, into the heavenly realm on earth, etc., then you purify yourself. And so I'm not saying people are bad and they need to stop sinning like some, I don't know, church person saying, or else you're going to go to hell or something. I'm saying that if you want to be able to have peace in your life, then you got to do that. So just purify yourself. The Bible in Revelation, it talks about the smoke of torment. And the word for torment is actually the same word that's used when the boat is being tossed by the waves. And the word for torment is actually being tested. So when the boat is on the waves in the storm, it's being tested to see how strong structurally it is. Just like the house on the sand is being tested. And when the floods come, it fails the test when it's built on sand. But when it's built on the rock, then it passes the test. So the smoke of the torment is actually just smoke of testing. It's connected to when you would test metals, there would be smoke coming off the metals, etc. So it's about testing for purification. And so that's what we're doing. We're in this period of purifying ourselves. And it's just testing to see how strong structurally you are. And if you can build your house on a rock foundation, which I've done in the past, a video on, then you will stand stable. And so I just wanted to talk about how to sort of get there. And we go through this testing, and I've gone through testing. And so I've been through a lot of stuff in the past few years on this channel. I've gone through different doctrines, and in 2015, I went through a period of testing my faith in the Bible, like, is Jesus God or not? I was led to test that, but I was afraid because I was taught that Jesus was God, and it was kind of blasphemous to think that that it's true that Jesus was not God, and that I would go to hell or something if I thought that, etc. So if you want to move forward spiritually, you need to go through these periods of testing where you test your beliefs. And so I went through this leap of faith saying, I trust that God put this in my path because I asked to no longer be deceived on things. And so I trusted that God would lead me to the truth, and I wouldn't have to worry about being misled when I studied whether or not Jesus was God. Now, that was a test of faith, a leap of faith. And so I chose faith over fear because I could have just been stuck in my fear. Like, I think saying Jesus is not God is blasphemous, and I'm afraid of going to hell. So in that case, there's a lot of people out there who believe that way, and they're afraid to test that belief and take that leap of faith. And so they get stuck at this position and they can't go forward spiritually. This happens all the time in our lives. And I've discussed how money is actually coming to you all the time. It's always flowing to you. Abundance is always flowing to you. But our false beliefs are what's keeping it away. So I actually made a video, I'm sorry, well, it's an MP3, it's not a video, on affirmations, and I'm trying to get this page up here. Okay, this is on Fiverr, and so it's a 2-hour-long affirmation music MP3 file, and I am saying affirmations in it. There's 50 plus rhyming affirmations to get it stuck in your head. And so I was listening to that while I was testing it out to see if it passed my test, right? Before I was going to give it away, selling it on Fiverr. And I listened to it a few nights, and then I was led to this Facebook ad. And it's a Facebook ad for a product tester. So you go to their website, and then it says that basically what they are doing is they have products that people have come to them saying, like, I want this product tested or researched from, these people. And then the people would give their feedback. And then, what happens is the people get the product for free, basically. And they get paid a little bit for their input. But the whole thing is set up so that you have to buy the product first, and then they reimburse you in PayPal. So immediately I can understand where my fear comes in, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, you get a free product and you get paid money. It's not that much money, but you're getting a free product also. And the thing is, you have to pay for it. So I'm thinking, in the past, for one thing, I might not have been led to see this particular ad on Facebook if I wasn't in the vibration of having money. The second thing is, even if I was somewhat in that vibration of having money and see this ad, now here comes the fear part. Are you okay with spending money and trusting that they're going to pay you back? That's a leap of faith. And so I was feeling like I was being led to do it. Basically, when I felt the fear, I was like, well, if God's up here and I'm fearing, then I'm not on the right wavelength with him. And if I was led to this, then he wants me to do it. And so I'm just kind of trying to judge, basically, by my emotions of what's going on. And so I applied for it, and I got into the program, and then I was looking at some of the products, and I ordered it, and I'm like, well, you order it through Amazon, and I had actually 1 year ago, about 1 year ago exactly, I think, I signed up, and I'm not entirely sure, but I signed up for an Amazon card, and trust me, I went through bankruptcy. I don't really want to do anything with credit cards, okay? So I have a fear around using credit cards, and I want to pay them off because I went through the whole having a bunch of credit card debt and bankruptcy, etc. I don't want to go there again. And so there's a fear factor there. But I had gotten a credit card on Amazon where I would pay it off. And I thought, well, this way I can build my credit back up a little bit by, paying for something that I actually have the cash for, and then I pay it back off, right, immediately. So that gets my credit up. So I did that a while back. So I had this Amazon credit card, and when you purchase these items, it's all going through Amazon. And so I thought, well, okay. I'm thinking if I put this stuff on the credit card and they're paying me back immediately, then I can pay it off once again. That's the even Steven thing, and improve my credit once again. And also at the same time, I'm getting some money plus the free product. So all these thoughts are going through my mind. And also it's an Amazon credit card. If they sort of jip me, like maybe it's some bad company that's going to not pay me for it or whatever, then I would report it to the credit card fraud, etc. I'd have the products and I can just ship them back to Amazon, and Amazon's been pretty nice in the past and everything. So logically, logically, I can think of all these things of, well, it would probably be okay because of this. I can just call Amazon and deal with it with them, etc. If it doesn't go right. I've been tracking my payments, tracking everything, basically, even with pictures and screenshots, etc. of this company saying that they're going to pay me this for that or whatever. And so I went forward, bold, with no fear. And because of that boldness, I was given more and more products because they have an AI system that will check to see if you're just buying one or two little products, because you want the product for yourself, or if you're just going all out and testing products, like they want you to. So everything was going good, except, of course, I have fear. Like, what if they don't pay me? Because what happens is you buy it, they don't pay you until it's shipped. And the reason is because if you cancel it before it's shipped, then, you're kind of gypping them and they want you to go through the whole process, etc. Logically, I can understand their whole reasoning for this. And you aren't even really charged on your card until it is shipped. So, anyway, logically, I can see it. Emotionally, heck, I'm going crazy, right? But I've seen that they've actually paid me now that some of the stuff has started to ship. And that means I've actually got free products. And actually, I sent the message a week or so ago when I told you guys that I had said I could show up for Christmas. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I had some free products that I could give for, Christmas presents, instead of me having to actually go out and buy anything, because I don't really have any money to go out and buy presents for people. And so actually this is kind of like an answer to that too, which is kind of funny. So anyway, long story short is basically I've been dealing with my own fear. And I'm not just saying that you should go and totally terrify yourself. But that may happen if it happens, because if you want to make money, if you want to move forward spiritually or physically, whatever, financially, if you want to move forward, sometimes we have to actually go through these testing periods of, do you really have faith in God? And so I don't want you to take that and go make crazy decisions, etc. But if you're feeling led, if you know that this is something that God was leading you to do and you're afraid to do it, I'm saying you should do it if you feel like God is leading you to do that thing. If you don't feel like God is leading you to do that thing and you're afraid of it, well, why would you be thinking about even doing it, if you don't feel like God is leading you to that particular thing. So I'm not just saying go crazy and go do a bunch of stuff just because it's making you afraid to do it. You can say, I'm really afraid to stand in the middle of the street and have somebody run me over. Well, yeah, don't stand in the middle of the street and have somebody run you over just because that's something that you're afraid to do. There's some things that our natural instincts of fear are self-protective, etc. So don't just go crazy and do things because you're afraid to do them. But I'm just saying, if God is leading you to do something, you can take a leap of faith and trust that He's leading you to do that thing for a purpose and that everything will turn out all right. Okay. So I also did want to point out this meditation track. It's for sale on Fiverr. So if you guys want to buy it, you can actually, there's a link in the description box to Fiverr if you've never signed up before, because it says that it will give you a discount. I'm going to look to see how much it was. I think it's at 20% off your first purchase. So if you wanted to do that, you could sign up with that link. And then the other thing is you can go to the next link in the description box to buy it if you want to buy it. And so it's one MP3 for $5, which you can choose out of the 4 different tracks. One of the tracks is just me with music. It's actually fractal music, which I thought was cool. And the second one has me with the music, plus it has binaural beats. There's another one with me and the music and just isochronic tones. And then there's a 4th one which has isochronic tones, binaural beats, and me and the music, etc., doing the affirmations. Personally, I like the binaural beats meditation, and it was, normally it's kind of hard for you to hear your own voice talk, but I listened to this one with binaural beats and it got me into that meditative state that I talked about, where I'm kind of out of it or whatever without drugs. So I just lay down and listen to it, and sometimes maybe even fall asleep or something, but just be so out of it and then come back. And so it goes into the delta brain waves with the binaural beats, the headphones and everything. The isochronic tones you don't need headphones for. So I don't want to get into a whole spiel thing, but my point is it actually did help me, because that's when I got led to this stuff. And so I do think there's something to sort of reprogramming your brain. And yeah, disassociating from the body, but you're more associating, like, I can't see, sorry, hold on a second. I want to be able to see my picture. Okay. So if you're up here, your higher self is here, and you're down here, we are often sort of associating with the down here part, the body, right? But when you go into meditative state, you're sort of disassociating from the body, and you're associating with your higher self. The higher self that knows that you are rich and can create whatever you want, and you can get whatever you want, and you're not fearful. And so that's what I think sort of was what I was going through, is I've disassociated from that, and I'm programming myself to think like I can have money, things, you know, I can do jobs I love, etc. And money can flow to me, etc. But I'm not afraid to do it and all that. So I had a dream a while back, and I kind of think of it like a vision, because one of my friends on Facebook told me about her vision, and we ended up tracking it back to the same date, the same night, you know, that she had her vision is when I had my dream, which I woke up out of, but it just seems so real that I kind of think it might have been a vision for myself too. And so I might have mentioned it on my channel, but I'll talk about it here a little bit more. So I was in a house, wasn't my house. I was in a house sort of in a, maybe like a valley type area. And I went up to the mountains, and I brought my computer, my tower. And I don't really know how I got it there. I just know that I brought my computer up to the mountains. And then I met somebody, and I believe that it was an angel. And whenever the Bible talks about people meeting angels, it's often dreams, if not always dreams. The angel of the Lord that wrestled with Isaac, and then he became Israel, right? Is that it? Well, anyway, my brain's gone for that. But anyway, when the angel of the Lord wrestled with him, it was Jacob, I think. Anyway, that was likely a dream, because it says he was alone even when the angel was there. And I know you could say, well, he was alone because of the, yeah, Jacob, thanks. He was alone because angels don't count or something. But I think he was actually alone, and he was just dreaming this event. Regardless, I think that you can meet angels in your dreams. So I went to the mountains, and I met this guy, and he talked to me, and I didn't really... I remember telling him, everything looks so amazing. It just looks so crystal clear. It's like so vibrant, and just, I know that that is something that people who have near-death experiences talk about when they go to heaven, and then they come back, and they're like, it was just so much more vibrant and real, like more real than reality is here, you know? And I told him that, you know, that it was just so cool. It's so vibrant, etc. looking. And he said something to me, and I don't remember what he said. And even after the dream, that part was like muddled. I knew the intention, but I didn't know what he was saying. It's kind of like how people say, like, you can't really hear angels speaking. It was kind of telepathic or vibrational in itself or something. I just knew what he was saying. And it was just about what I wanted to do and all that stuff. And it kind of made me feel like it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. Things are going to change now. What do you really want? Because you've gotten past the stuff that you came here to get past or whatever. And that things were looking forward. I actually got to ask a request of God, basically. And that's what I did. And then I went back to, I sort of kind of got transported back to the house in the valley area that I had left from. And I realized to myself, my computer's there. I have to go back and get my computer later. And And I thought to myself, there will be dew on it, like dew of the mountains, the water, the moisture, etc. And I said, once I get my computer back, I'm going to have to let it rest for a day or so to, get that off before I can turn it on. It's so logical thinking, right? And then in that dream that night, later on, there was an alarm clock. I thought that it was the morning when I woke up out of the bed in the dream, and I found out that it was 12:20, and then I thought to myself, what's the middle of the night? And it's still dark outside, and then I was afraid of somebody coming in, and then I thought to myself, didn't I lock all the doors? And there was one door in my bedroom. Again, this is not my house, etc. This is just the dream. And in comes a shadow, and I realized the shadow came into my room at 12:21 on the clock, and 12:21 is actually code for me because I've talked about this before. 1 equals A and 2 equals B as far as the alphabet if you were just listing them. And so it equals Abba, 12:21, Abba. And that means Father. And so I thought, oh, the Father has overshadowed me. I actually woke up out of this dream really fearful at first because the shadow came in and scared me, but then I realized what it was. I mean, I talked to an angel, and everything. So what I realized afterwards as I was talking to friends and stuff like that is that the computer going to the mountains, which is another reference for heaven or the New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem is called like a mountain in Revelation. So taking my computer to the mountains, I think it was representative of my brain and my computer programming, and that it was going to go and be wiped clean with the dew, the living waters of heaven, and that the Father was overshadowing me, taking care of me, and that everything would be okay, and sort of reprogramming my brain. And that's when I really started getting into, the meditations and things like that, where I can, and affirmations and subliminal messages, etc., so that I can reprogram my brain to have more beneficial thought patterns than negative thought patterns. So, in the case of a new job opportunity or something, you can have a negative thought pattern, a fear that, I'm not good enough. And like if you're writing your resume, you might even feel like, oh, I can't write that because what if I can't do that? And then there's fear there. If you feel like, oh, I can accomplish anything, then you can write down, you'll have a better way of writing down your resume. And so this is why our confidence level can actually get us jobs where if you're feeling fearful, you're actually repelling jobs, you're repelling money. It's not that the money wasn't there. It's not that the job wasn't there and available to you. You repelled it because you were fearful that you weren't going to be good enough or something. So we have all these thought patterns, and that's the affirmation for money thing is about getting the thought patterns of the rich, basically, of this free-flowing abundance feeling, etc. Because when you don't have that feeling, you're sort of blocking yourself off. You're like pushing the money away. You're pushing abundance away until you can feel like I can let money go and I can bring money in, just like the air, in, out. Money can flow in and out, and we don't have to be afraid of not having enough, because it's not like every morning you wake up and you take one deep, long breath, and that's all I'm going to have for the day, and I'm not going to, then you just let go, right? You don't do that. You just go in and out. We're not afraid that we're not going to have enough air, and that's why it's easy for us to do that. But people are sometimes afraid of not having enough money or not being able to pay bills and things like that. But the Father is there when we relax and let go and say, okay, the Father is going to take care of that. This is my leap of faith. If I feel like the Father is leading me to do this, then we can let go and take that leap of faith and go forward. And so our negative emotions, fear, are saying that we're not seeing this event the same way He does. And He's fearless, completely fearless. And some people try to say you should only say your affirmations in the positive, like fearless would be a bad affirmation because you're saying less, or like I am not ignorant of this or something. That would be kind of a double negative. Try to come up with a good example. I don't eat unhealthy food. And then someone would say that, well, your body is saying I do eat unhealthy food because it doesn't understand no or not. But I don't believe in that. I have a video about how our frequency, our understanding is frequency. It's not the English language. And so there's nothing to fear about what they would call negative affirmations, you know. Once again, fear. I mean, if you're having fear of that, that's not how God sees it. So obviously that's not the right way to see things. So, like people talk about population, overpopulation. Was that ever a fear of God's, overpopulation? No, because it's not true. Because we have enough room for everybody. But there's some people out there who actually live in a fear of overpopulation, and they won't have children because they're afraid to bring more children into the world that's overpopulated. It's a false belief, and we know it's a false belief. Logically, you know, it's a false belief. But they believe it, you know, and in the same way, we have false beliefs about how we can make money or whatever else in your entire life that you want to deal with. Some people have false beliefs. I'll never find the right person for me. I'll never find the right mate. I'm not lovable, whatever, etc. These negative false beliefs, they're just not true, you know? And yeah, you can turn them into positives. Okay. Somebody said unhealthy food is unappealing to me. Yeah. You can turn them into positives. So I'm just saying you don't have to be afraid of saying it in a negative way. And, you know, so some of the affirmations may be like, I'm fearless or something, right? There's nothing wrong with saying I'm fearless. It's actually empowering to say I'm fearless. I like the word fearless rather than being bold. Bold doesn't even have the same, I don't know, emotion behind it for me than fearless does. But God is bold and fear is down here, and God is fearless, however you want to say it. And if we're down here afraid of something, then we're not seeing it the way he's seeing it. When we're afraid of dying, we're not seeing it the way he's seeing it. There's nothing to fear there. I was never afraid of dying. If you're afraid of talking in front of a group of people, like you're not confident in that, he doesn't see you that way. He sees you as totally able to talk to a bunch of people, and it's not going to be a bad thing if maybe you make a mistake or whatever. He doesn't see that the same way you're seeing it. He doesn't care about what other people are thinking because other people are thinking based on their vibrations. So if somebody else sees you make a mistake and they say, ha ha, you made a mistake, well, they're not seeing you the same way God sees you, right? So why do you want to care about what this person is thinking about you? You should be caring about what God thinks about you. So why would you even care about what other people are thinking about you when they're not, if they're thinking negative things, they're not thinking true things because they're not thinking what God's thinking about you. So that's why we're not supposed to care about what other people think about us. And I can say that, but that's not how I feel at times. So, I mean, I know this stuff, but it's still a process, and I understand that it's a process that we go through. So, yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to talk about, but there is, right? So some people will say that the heart is deceitful above all things, and I wanted to mention that in this video because basically I'm telling you, follow your emotions, and that's the right way to find out how God feels about something. And then people will say, well, but the heart is deceitful above all things. So let me just discuss that here. Jeremiah 17, and I'm just going to read 5 and on for a little while. Thus says Yahweh, cursed is the man who trusts in man. Well, didn't I just say that? Perfect timing, divine timing. He brought it to me in divine timing. I just said, don't trust in what a man is thinking about you because they're not seeing things the way God's seeing it, right? Okay, so thus says Yahweh, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from Yahweh. He is like a shrub in the desert and shall not see any good come. He shall dwell in the parched places of the wilderness, in an uninhabited salt land. Blessed is the man who trusts in Yahweh, whose trust is Yahweh. He is like a tree planted by water, that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green, and it is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately sick. Who can understand it? I, Yahweh, search the heart and test the mind, to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. So this verse is talking about how we are not supposed to be judging somebody else's heart, or caring about what they think, etc. It's about Yahweh's the one who searches their heart and knows what they're thinking, and we don't have to do that, etc. And it's just completely not about what people are saying that it's about. Plus, Ezekiel 36:26. Ezekiel 36, I'll start at 25. I will also sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your impurities and all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and to carefully observe my ordinances. I was just kind of wondering if there was a word and there isn't a word and, I don't think. I mean, furthermore. So I'm thinking maybe the heart of flesh, maybe the heart of flesh and spirit is the same thing. I'm not sure, but the and would be in the next sentence. But the whole point is, if the heart is deceitful above all things, and Yahweh's the one who gave us the heart, that doesn't make any sense that Yahweh would give us a heart that is deceitful above all things, right? Okay, there is an and, there is a conjunction. All right, so I made this up here. The stony heart is the one that's deceitful. The flesh heart is the one that leads to love and truth and everything that we want. So the heart that's deceitful above all things has to be a stony heart. It cannot be the heart that Yahweh gave us, right? So if we are new creations and we have a new heart in us that came from Yahweh, then that is totally perfectly fine to follow that heart, to follow those emotions, to figure out how to become one with Him, because we're following our emotions to know that we're not seeing things as He sees them. So in your life, whenever you come across something that you see as bad, ask yourself, how does God see this? What is He seeing in this situation, this person, this experience that's good for me? Because He's not seeing it as bad. So whatever negative emotion you're feeling, you can find out that God doesn't agree with you on that. That's where the dissonance, the negative emotion, comes from. And then ask Him what He's saying, what He's thinking. And so then you'll figure it out. So I'm going to read the chat again, and that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this video. And sorry, somebody put a link in there and I wanted to just click OK. All right, guys, if there's any comments, questions, or whatever, I'm just going to sort of go back through the chat because I was just talking and not actually reading it. So yeah, sorry, I'll be scrolling, and then if you have anything you want to talk about, ask me questions or whatever, feel free to do that. But I'm just going to be reading for a second here. Illusion is Over was talking about how only those who know how to, what is that, lie and manipulate become successful in monetary sense. Well, I don't think that's really true. It's just that your belief that those are the only people who make money is what's showing you that. Because if you believe that only people who lie and manipulate have success in money, then those are the only things you're going to see in the world. If you believe that there are honest people who can make money, then you'll see honest people who can make money in the world, because our beliefs actually change the way we perceive the world. That's what's so cool about having affirmations and reprogramming yourself to have better beliefs, because once you have those better beliefs ingrained in your mind, then you'll see the world in a new way. And that's the law of attraction, basically, in a nutshell. Scrolling down. Janet was saying that the people calling me names is a good thing because you're causing them to defend their position and think. Yeah, basically what happened was somebody got into my group and they did not agree with the whole sacrifices are not asked for by Yahweh and the Facebook group. And so when they did that, then they called people crazy. They said, oh, you guys are all crazy, blah, blah, blah. You're rejecting this, blah, blah. I have rules in the group, basically treat others as you would want to be treated. And I know you wouldn't want to be called a total crazy nut and just go off, you know, on somebody. And so I kicked him from the group, and that's when he called me a cunt, etc. I don't know that he's really thinking about it, but I can use them as an example, I guess, here to talk about, so you guys know that that's one of those things where somebody has a fear of looking into a doctrine that they don't understand, and they don't move forward spiritually. So let's see here, scrolling down a little further. Things can always change. It's us who stop the change we want. Yes, everything that we really want is coming to us, basically, and we're just sort of rejecting it by our false beliefs and our resistance. And that's why meditation helps us release resistance so that everything that we want can come to us. And that's why meditation is so important. And that's why I did my video on how to meditate, because it took me so long to figure out how to do it and actually get into that meditative state. So that's why I wanted to do that video on how to do that. And it's Meditation for Dummies if you're interested and haven't seen it. Yeah, Life with Expression was saying that they were reading through those, and it says, "Thus saith the Lord," and they were angry and depressed from reading it. It's where you are emotionally that's not seeing it the way he's seeing it. Our Father doesn't care that it says, "Thus saith the Lord," etc. What was the issue that you had with the Lord? When it says the Lord, it's actually the tetragrammaton for Yahweh or Yahuwah or whatever you want to say. And they did change the name many times. And I know there's a lot of people who get upset because Lord means Baal, supposedly. But it actually just, Baal was probably called Baal because the word of Lord. They just, like I said, they called the golden calf Yahweh because that was who they were worshiping. They said, like, we worship Yahweh. Where is Yahweh? Moses is off with Yahweh. We don't know where he is. Let's make a golden calf and say, we worship Yahweh. So they wouldn't have to change who they worship. They just called the golden calf Yahweh. So, same thing with Baal, right? They say we worship the Lord because, he's lording over us, just like Jesus is our Lord because we do what he says, etc., in order to find peace and love and joy, etc. So we call him our Lord because we're doing what he says. That's why he says, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and don't do what I say? It's not a negative thing to call him Lord. And it's not that it confuses people. That's because people don't know that, the Lord in the Old Testament was actually Yahweh. So there's two different things. There are two different words, basically. And so what happened is they called their God like our Lord. He's our Lord. Just like we call Jesus, he's our Lord because he tells us what to do and we get, peace, love, joy, etc. So that's great. But then people fell away and they did stupid things and they worshiped, whatever, but they called him Lord and it turned into Baal because of whatever. And it's just, people change that stuff. And of course, Yahweh's not going to see it as this negative thing. It's just, you can look at it from a good or bad perspective and he's going to see it from the best perspective always. Scrolling down on here, looking at the chat room. Yeah, all books have been manipulated by men. Everything had to be translated from the original thing. So why are we worried about, if this book is from God or not? Because it already went through a translator. And if it went through a translator, it went through the translator's perceptions. And the translator's perceptions were wrong. And even the people who heard from God probably got it wrong too in the past and didn't understand what they were hearing. I mean, you have a dream. And you can say, well, my dream means this. And then later on you think, oh, no, my dream meant that. Well, same thing with the prophecies, right? They heard from God. They said, well, this is what he says. And then they find out, well, this is what it means. And we didn't know what it meant originally. So just like the translators, everything gets messed up. That's why it's so important to follow your heart. Inside, the spirit, the negative emotions tell you that you're not on the right wavelength as he is about this stuff. So, I just believe that God is the spirit that created this world. And this world is sort of, I talked about this in the Primal Adam article on my website. But I think that God sort of like created from him. I mean, from him, not like whatever, but like a seed comes from a father, created Adam, the primal Adam, and then primal Adam split into all of us. Eve came out of Adam, and then children came out of them, etc. So I think of us as like the mirror image of God, Adam, but we're all like split up to show the different facets of God. So, but we're here sort of, we look in a mirror, dark glass mirror, whatever, right? God's up here and we're like trying to look up at him, and we're supposed to be reflecting him on earth. And he's all pure, perfect, etc. But he just did it, I think, to experience himself, to really see, because, you know, if you're just you and there's nothing to do, you're not really experiencing yourself. And you would want to experience yourself. So that's kind of how I see it now. Just scrolling down. Yeah, there's definitely nuggets of inspiration in the Bible. And the true character of Abba is love. It's all throughout the Bible. Agape love, loving one another as yourself, and being just. You're not going to take bribes. Sacrifices are bribes. You know, if you say like you want to get off when you go to court and you pay the judge, well, you know, here's some money. Is that judge a just judge? No. Because they took a bribe to get you free. Sacrifices are bribes. If you say, Jesus died for me so I don't have to, that's a bribe. If you say, this animal died for me so I don't have to stop sinning, that's a bribe. And if Yahweh says he's a just judge. He does not take bribes. He's not going to care about who is coming to you, trying to say, well, this covers me for this, and oh, I did that, and that's that, you know, whatever. He's not going to take bribes. He only trusts if you are cleansing yourself from your sin. And the Spirit is inside of you. It knows all. He's the one who judges, you know. It's not our job to judge other people. The Spirit is inside of everybody else, judging them always in that moment. So, yeah. So I'm scrolling up, just seeing, okay. So Life with Expression said, so if there isn't anything that is really right or wrong, just experiences, how do we know if we're really growing closer in purification? Well, the purification is agape love. It is loving one another as yourself, the golden rule. That's why it shows up in every single religion. Treat others as you would want to be treated. And if you wouldn't want something done to you, and then you go and do it to somebody else, you're going to have that negative vibration, that negative emotion that this isn't jiving with who I really am. And there is purification there. You know, you're not going to be angry at people. You're not going to hold grudges. You're going to be very forgiving. You're going to be letting things slide because you know what it was like when you did those things. And once you can get to that point, you're going to know, like, look at how far I've come. I don't get angry at this person anymore when they do that. I mean, like I said, somebody called me a cunt this morning, and I just deleted the message, and I just moved on. 2 years ago, I might have been in tears dealing with that sort of stuff, right? I mean, I've already gone through that stuff. He strengthened me through those experiences. But you can see how far you've come. You know that you're no longer getting into those negative emotions. And that's the thing. The real judge is how much negative emotion are you tolerating in your life? If you're tolerating a lot of fear in your life, or if you're tolerating a lot of anger and unforgiveness, you'll feel it like a physical weight on your shoulders. And when you let go, and meditation really helps with that, you'll feel lighter. So you're going to have your past experiences to know, I'm not doing this anymore, you know, or I'm handling this a lot better than I used to. You're going to feel lighter, like you're walking on air. When you hit a negative emotion, you're not going to stay in that negative emotion as long as you used to. You're going to have more positive emotions than negative emotions as you go. So there's a lot of ways to tell if you're getting into that purification state, because you're no longer going to be, you know, wishing harm on somebody else. You're not going to be saying, oh, those evil elite people out there. Oh, those evil rich people. Oh, those evil blah, blah, blah. You know, you're going to say, oh, no big deal. They're doing what they're doing. They're blind. They're spiritually blind. They don't know what they're doing. That's why Jesus was able to forgive people who were just murdering him and saying, you know, I forgive them, or Yahweh forgive them, for they know not what they do. They don't know what they're doing. And so even if somebody's trying to murder you in the moment, you forgive because they don't know what they're doing. If you can get to that point, you'll know you've come far and you're being purified for sure. It's not really that hard to see if you're being purified, because you'll feel the negative emotion. You know, you'll feel it as, and if you go to bed and you're like laying in bed and you can't fall asleep because you're worried about how am I going to make money on this, or how am I going to do that presentation tomorrow, and what if this person doesn't like me, and what about that, and you have all these anxieties and stuff like that. It shows you that you're not, putting that on Jesus, or, letting him take that yoke upon him so that it's light. The burden is light, right? So if you're not feeling that and you're feeling weighed down by worries and stuff like that, then, you've still got some ways to go. But if you can fall asleep once you lie down immediately, like really quickly, then you'll show that you don't have those worries anymore. And you'll be getting better sleep at night, and you won't have nightmares as often. And I mean, there's just so many ways to tell how, and you might even wake up earlier than you normally do. Like, you need less sleep because you're just so in tune with God, because you're not, these negative emotions that we pile on us actually keep us in like worry. If you ever felt like you were getting worried, then you might actually feel like, wow, I'm so tired. And it's because the worry is actually like bogging us down and making us feel like we need to relax and let go. And when you sleep, you're sort of disassociating from your body self and going back up to your higher self, and then you can relax, and that's when the body recharges, etc. And because you're thinking more like your higher self and not as your lower self anymore. And that's why we need to sleep. And so you'd have less sleep needed if you could feel like that all the time. I've had days where I felt so much inspiration and I was just so in tune that I actually woke up in the middle of the night and I just started working in the middle of the night, and then I spent the whole day doing what I was working on. And I wasn't really that tired by the end of the night, just because I was just so in the zone right there, being aligned, one with God, etc. on that particular moment. The next day I slept in more, but we can do so much more if we aren't worried about things and letting him sort of guide us. And that's why I've talked so much about releasing resistance, and because it's the resistance, that friction that makes something slow down. If you are, if you throw a ball down a street and you have like resistance to it, it might slow down faster than if it was totally smooth. It would just keep going, right? So it's the resistance that slows us down. Scrolling down here on the chat here. Yeah, I don't think we really should be working for money. I think actually that money should be coming to us, or it really shouldn't even be money. But that everything should be provided for us. But that's just the path of least resistance right now, is through money. Scrolling down here. We should govern our animals the way Christ given us to. Yeah. We were made to lay in green pastures. Yeah. So we shouldn't be working for money. This is the beast. Well, I don't call it a beast system. This is the system that is made, and to call it a beast system is to say that there's something wrong with it, except our law of attraction is bringing forward this system, and I talked about why in my video on authority. I don't really see negative stuff about the system. It's just the system is a reflection of who we are as a collective. And when we collectively are getting better and aligned with God, our system will be transformed to do more things like he would do. And I mean, even as it is, there's some poor people who are getting help with money through the system and all that stuff. There's some negative stuff happening too, but that's not on us, as I discussed in that video. Yeah, I don't think that the Supreme Being made the clusterfuck, right? So he didn't make this negative stuff, and that's the whole like demiurge belief, is that he somehow effed up, and made this horrible place. And I don't believe that at all, basically. I believe he put us here in this world where we can create and do whatever we want to do, and he is like observing, but it's just a reflection of who he is. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's when we see it as something wrong that we are judging it in a way that he doesn't see it. There's a negative emotion to say that this world is somehow bad. That's a negative emotion, saying that this world is bad, that somebody messed up when this world was created, etc. That's a negative emotion. And it shows that we're not seeing it as he sees it. So we want to ask what is good about this world. And basically there's some people who are struggling and they don't have money, right? But they think that they don't have money. And using myself as an example, I've been through that. And so whenever money comes, then it goes. And they don't feel like they can ever save up money, and they feel like they're struggling for money because they feel like they have to struggle for money, etc. So you have to release that resistance before they can make money. So you could say that there's a lot of poor people out there who can't make enough to eat. Now, I never felt like I didn't have enough to eat, and I've always apparently created a world where I've always had something to eat, you know? So the thing is, it's just, we can't say there's something wrong with the world that people are attracting what they don't want in their life. The law of attraction is purification. It's people are actually so free they can choose bondage. And so that's what's going on. These people feel like they're so free, but they don't even know it. But they have this power inside of them. And whatever they think about, whatever they worry about is what is attracted to them. So if you worry about, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough food, etc., then you go through these times of, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough food, or I'm worried where my money and food is going to come from. And then that's what happens. And that's how we get starving people. You know, they grow up in a world that they feel like that's what's going on. But I feel like people are actually reincarnated into that. But that's my personal belief, for other reasons, so that they can learn, etc. But regardless, there's nothing wrong with the system. It's actually really good if somebody was reincarnated in that life and they learned, and that's why they're more prone to giving to people in the future in another life or something like that. So I'm just going to go back to the chat and look here. And yeah, releasing resistance is huge. I had a bout the other day where I was talking to somebody and they made me feel bad about the whole credit card thing, which, you know, I personally don't like to use it, right? But there's times when it's a benefit. Oh, and besides that, with the whole product review thing, if I use the Amazon card, then I can actually get cash back on the purchases. So besides building up credit, I can get cash back on the purchases and make money that way as they pay me back right away, right? So that's actually a really good thing. But, you know, somebody else was, you know, like, hey, what about this fear? You're paying it off right away, etc., right? You know, and you get this like, ugh. But that's the resistance. And so I meditated and I woke up feeling much better the next day. So, illusion is over, said Amazon logo is Satan's tail. That's so funny. I don't see these things as negative anymore. It's just the A to Z. And Satan doesn't even have a tail in the Bible. And I've done an article about Satan. There's no fallen angel named Satan, etc. So, yeah, I'm not going to boycott Amazon. See, by saying Amazon is a bad company, it's like, it's the whole bad versus good thing. And I've been there because I used to sell on Amazon and they discounted my account. And that's actually how I really started falling into this whole, I don't have enough money, because I used to sell products on Amazon. I would go and ship them out and pay people, you know, like I made money that way. I bought product, I sold it on Amazon. So I've been having that negative feeling about Amazon in the past, but I released resistance and now I'm making money through it again. So releasing resistance. You can't just call something bad. And if we perceive something as bad, it's going to be bad in our reality. But if we perceive something as good, it can be good in our reality. That's the whole point of law of attraction. We have to stop seeing things as negative and start asking ourselves what is going on. Like, okay, so they treat their workers like crap. That means those workers that are getting treated like crap have brought that reality into their lives. If they felt like they should be treated very positively, then they would have a job where they got treated very positively. Through law of attraction, they have attracted that reality. And the thing is, we don't know how all their workers are feeling. There could be very many workers out there who feel awesome. So, you know, we can't just say, well, this person got treated this way So Amazon treats all people like that or whatever. Or these people are getting treated like this, etc. It's all a result of everybody else's frequency, where they're at. So we have to start seeing the world as positive. The more we see it as positive, the more it will show that to us. And I think we can actually bring heaven on earth. And so we have to stop looking at the world as if it's negative, because the more you look at it as if it's negative, like saying Amazon is evil or this person's evil, the evil elite, blah, 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 that's just, it's not the way God sees it. And he's not looking at this world and saying like this is evil and this is good, etc. It's all a learning experience, and it's all the ultimate good. In the Nazarene Acts or Clementine homilies, I forget which one, but it says that the Hebrews don't believe, I think it's the Nazarene Acts, the Hebrews don't believe in evil. And, it's just, I just see that more and more and more with the law of attraction. There isn't anything evil. We're all choosing our own bondage. And that's why I'm telling people, release resistance and you can choose to be free. But there's a bunch of people out there who do choose to have bondage, who do choose to end up in jobs they hate, etc. Life with Expression said, there are workers out there who love their jobs. They are not talked about. Yeah, there's a ton out there like that. Bad news makes the news because it's showbiz, etc. Yes, it's totally true. Totally true. We have to take responsibility and understand that other people are in charge of their own lives, and we can help people when we feel like we're led to, but some people we're not going to be led to help because they're just sort of making their own reality, and sometimes people are making a bad reality for themselves. And that's not our job to, we can try to say, here's help, you can do this or that or whatever, but it's not our job to do that. They're being led by the Father, and 24/7, the Spirit inside of them is trying to lead them to better results. And if they're ready to stop being fearful, if they're ready, like I said, people might be afraid to get a better job because they are not, feeling very positive about themselves. And that's how they end up in a bad job, getting treated poorly. But if you could get over the fear, because the fear is not true, then you can move into a better job that actually treats you the way you should be treated. But until then, these people that are having poor jobs, they're bringing it on themselves. And it's not like a mean thing to say. It's just the way it is. It's just reality. People who don't have money are sort of bringing it on themselves. It's just reality. And I'm saying that because I've been there and I'm trying to change it. That's why I have the binaural beats meditation track here. Like I said, I'm trying to change my thought patterns about money. And like I said, things are getting better. And you'll know when you can get that feeling of abundance and feel that way, feel good more of the time. And yeah, a fear might creep in once in a while. Like I said, I've been dealing with it. But if you keep trusting, faith over fear, it's what I've been repeating to myself, faith over fear, that I was led to do this, faith over the fear. And take that leap of faith and just stay in those feelings and keep reminding yourself. You can ask God for signs that you're doing the right thing. God gave me signs all over the place that I was doing the right thing, and I still had fear. But what I did is I would continually focus. If I have fear about this, stop thinking about the fear and start focusing on, God gave me this sign. God gave me this sign. God gave me this sign. God gave me this sign that I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. And just keep focusing on the fact that he's leading you. And you can then get out of the fear. Once you see that, it's less of a leap of faith and more of a leap of knowing that he's taking care of you and it's really going to be all right. And I hope to get to that point more of the time. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Janet. It's a process, and I'm really hoping that it'll happen soon. I'm kind of praying, but the thing is, I woke up this morning and I was in a good mood, and I was like, wow, I'm in a really good mood. And I had another one of those dreams, not like as good as the mountain dream, but a dream that I was able to interpret pretty well, actually. I guess I'll talk about it. I was at a place out of town, and I found something that I had left there, and I tried to put it in my baggage, my like duffel bag, my big luggage thing, and I tried to take the stuff that I had left at that place so that I could bring it with me on the airplane to get home, because I'd left it there, and I was like, I got to bring this with me. And it broke my bag. And what it taught me was that you can't go back to get the emotional baggage, from the past. You can leave it in the past and just move on. Like, I got all this fear baggage, and I'm trying to leave it where it is. Don't keep looking at it. Don't keep trying to bring it with you, because it's just going to break you. You got to leave it there and move forward. And then at the dream moved forward, and I was telling somebody else about this one example where I was in this airport and I missed my flight because actually I was there on time. But what happened is the airplane took off because they thought we were going to be late. And so I missed the flight because of that. And that was the last flight of the evening. So they gave me this voucher to go to a hotel. And so they gave me this voucher to go to a hotel, and I ended up at a hotel, but I was by myself. And this was when I was like in my 20s, early 20s. And it's kind of crazy going, I mean, I might have even been 19 at the time. And I could have been really afraid of like, how am I going to do this? Because I had to take like this train to the hotel, and then I had to make sure that I set my alarm so that I could get back to the airport on time and everything. But everything worked so smoothly, and I barely even remember it. I just know that it worked out. But that's how life works. We get put into these situations that could totally be really, really awful. Like being in the middle of nowhere and not having any place to go except they gave you one, because something's always being provided for you. And basically, because it was a connection flight, right? I didn't say that, but that's another thing. If I had gone to, wherever it was originally, I could have just gone back, but it was a connection flight. So that's why I was in the middle of nowhere. And, but everything works out. And so I was saying that in my dream, and I woke up, and I remember this thing, but the thing is, everything is working out for you. And, it's just that we have to let go and trust that everything is working out. And when we let go, then God will shine a light on the way to go. So that is amazing. And it's amazing to know that. It's totally freeing that everything is okay. And that's why Jesus went about, and he didn't need a house. He always was given food. He always had something, So, wasn't my swearing? I'm sorry. But yeah, we do need to just sort of let other people do what they're gonna do, and it's just the way things work. And you never know what the reason is for something. And the person who swore to me, probably, yeah, that was not nice. But anyway, things like that just happen. It's just the way the world works, and we can't just say like, oh, that's bad or that's good. You have no idea if somebody might get it, and if it's said one way versus another. And just like if somebody has mistakes in the way they speak, like Moses, supposedly he had a speech problem, and God works through people in the way that he knows best. And sometimes it happens that people will make mistakes, and somebody will hear something a completely different way. And that's why I have to not judge myself too harshly either when I make a mistake, because I'm like, well, there's a reason for that, and maybe somebody needed to hear it that way so that they would, do something else in the future, and we just have to let go and understand that our Father is guiding everything for the best, to work out the best, basically. And it's just when we are resistant, we're not feeling the same way he is about this situation. And I think that's basically my point of this whole thing. We need to listen to those feelings in our heart because we are new creations. We were given the heart of flesh. If our heart feels bad, it's because we're not seeing things the way He's seeing it. And that's basically my point. So I'm going to end this video and just wish you all a great Shabbat Shalom and great weekend, etc. And thank you all for joining and thank you all for watching. And I hope that you all have a great week too, basically. Thank you all.